Abercrombie Kids is bringing the ultimate first day energy back to school. It all starts with on-trend outfits for that front door photo shoot. Plus, the coolest tees, shorts, and jeans to take them through the rest of the year. Get them ready for their close-up. And keep them comfy, too. Make this grade their best one yet. Shop all things back to school, in-store, online, and in the app.
We are
Cultivate.
We are Cultivate.
Hello and welcome to Ye Olde Crime, where we discuss the funny, strange, and obscure crimes of yesteryear. I'm your host, Lindsay Valenti, and with me is my sister and co-host, Maddie Savage. Savage.
It's perfect. 1,000%. Like, what is it? 10 points to Gryffindor. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seamless. Smooth.
Yeah. I stuck the landing.
You really did. You know, still counts.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Mm-hmm.
This is week 3 of birthday month, I think.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, week 3 already. And this is a fun one, and I'm glad you picked it. So today, we will be talking about the alien gravesite.
Ooh, okay. I forgot all about this.
Nice. That's my favorite. Information was pulled from the following sources: a 2024 Atlas Obscura article by Eric Grundhauser, 2024 Fort Worth, Texas article by Michael H. Price, 2024 Medium article by Ryan Sprague, 2024 Texas Hill Country article by Max McNabb, 2023 Burials and Beyond blog post by Kate Cherrill, 2021 Now magazine article by Angel Morris, 2016 Cara News article by Christopher Connolly, 2014 Houston Chronicle article by John Boyd, Aurora Legend, Find a Grave, MUFON, or the Mutual UFO Network publication by John F. Schuessler, Tui Snyder blog post, and Wikipedia.
All right.
Thank you to Carrie Ann for her research assistance on this episode, and links to all of these articles will be included in the show notes. We wouldn't be here without support from listeners like you. If you're interested in supporting us financially, you can leave a one-time or monthly donation over on Buy Me a Coffee or our Venmo page. Links are in the show notes. And we make a point of reaching out to send you a thank you note and stickers to show our appreciation.
Want to show your support in a more concrete way? Pick up some Ye Olde Crime merch over at our TeePublic shop. We shout out whenever there is a sale each month, and we work to make sure we're creating new designs and changing it up whenever possible. And hey, thanks for listening.
Picture this. You're in the sleepy farming town of Aurora, Texas, located about 30 miles northwest of Fort Worth.
Okay.
It's April 17th, 1897, with the sound of the windmills creaking in the wind, when all of a sudden, there is an explosion in the sky. Thus starts one of the strangest legends in Aurora's history.
I love it.
A report of the events, as noted by reporter S.E. Hayden, was included in the April 19th, 1897 edition of the Dallas Morning News. Quote, "A windmill demolishes it." Aurora, Wise County, Texas, April 17th. About 6 o'clock this morning, the early risers of Aurora were astonished at the sudden appearance of the airship which has been sailing around the country. It was traveling due north and much nearer the earth than before. Evidently, some of the machinery was out of order, for it was making a speed of only 10 or 12 miles an hour, and gradually settling toward the earth. It sailed over the public square, and when it reached the north part of town, it collided with the tower of Judge Proctor's windmill and went into pieces with a terrific explosion, scattering debris over several acres of ground, wrecking the windmill and water tank, and destroying the judge's flower garden. The pilot of the ship is supposed to have been the only one aboard, and while his remains were badly disfigured, enough of the original has been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world.
Ooh.
Mr. T.J. Weems, the U.S. Army Signal Service officer at this place and an authority on astronomy, gives it as his opinion that the pilot was a native of the planet Mars.
The Army knows.
The Army knows. Papers found on his person, evidently the records of his travels, are written in some unknown hieroglyphics and cannot be deciphered. This ship was too badly wrecked to form any conclusion as to its construction or motive power. It was built of an unknown metal, resembling somewhat a mixture of aluminum and silver, and it must have weighed several tons. The town is today full of people who are viewing the wreckage and gathering specimens of strange metal from the debris. The pilot's funeral will take place at noon tomorrow. End quote.
So this happened at 6 a.m.
In the morning. Yep.
6 a.m. in the morning. UFO essentially crashes into this poor guy's windmill and water tank.
Yep.
The
And destroyed his
judge-
flower garden. The judge.
No, but like, I would be more pissed off about the water tank being destroyed. You know how expensive those water tanks are? And
Mhm.
like, granted, he's a judge, so he can probably afford it. I mean, it sounds like the alien knew. It was like,
Mhm.
listen, I'm going to crash. You got to go to this
Yeah.
guy's highfalutin house to crash. But
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
Like 6 a.m. is not, like, people are up
Yeah.
in a town like that at that time.
Yeah.
What the heck?
According to later reports, the people of Aurora, which at the time had a population of around 1,200 people, were able to pull the quote-unquote petite Martian body of the pilot from the wreckage. They would go on to bury the remains of Ned.
Oh, they named him.
They named him Ned. At noon on April 20th at the Aurora Cemetery with a Christian ceremony led by a traveling pastor named William Russell Tabor.
Okay, that's kind of sweet. Because I would think, had Ned been alive, they would have not received such a Christian greeting and or
No.
burial, probably.
No.
Probably wouldn't have been very Christian, actually, had he
Nah.
been alive.
Nah. Probably would have been a lot more murdery.
Aggressive. A little bit more. Maybe like book 1, you know?
Sure.
Wrath.
Or End of Days.
Sold.
You
Yeah.
know, something like that.
Something a little more aggressive.
Ned's cigar-shaped spaceship had been seen flying over Aurora's public square before crashing a little north of what is now Texas Highway 114 around 6 a.m. The Dallas Morning News would note that between April 15th and April 19th of 1897, several sightings of an airship occurred in northern Texas around at least 21 different towns.
Dang. And cigar shaped. So it was just like a little, like
a
Oscar
little-
Mayer Wiener kind of
Yeah.
spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
Where's his bun? He ain't got no buns, Lieutenant Dan.
The wreckage of the spacecraft that was pulled from J.S. Proctor's property was said to have been dumped into a nearby well under what was once his windmill.
They just dumped everything in the well?
Yep. Because he couldn't use it anymore. So they were like, all right, bye. Just dump it in the well.
Sure. Let's put all of this mysterious stuff in a water source. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine.
It's said that other parts of the craft made their way into the burial plot of the alien pilot as well.
Mm. All those papers.
Mm-hmm.
Those wingdings papers.
All of his important papers with his zing bats.
Yep.
Many of the residents of Aurora and the surrounding area believed the craft to be from Mars, given the fact that an Italian astronomer had recently announced evidence of canals on the planet back in 1888. So they were like, if anyone's going to come,
It's got to be them.
yep.
I mean, it makes sense because, like, we had such a narrow understanding of all of it that if you were like, hey, that planet kind of sounds like it almost could be ours, then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, why not fathom something like that?
Yeah. It hasn't even been 10 years since the announcement of canals on Mars, and then they're just like, oh my God, they're here.
That's so funny. That would be scary for them.
It would be. At the time, there were several theories on what happened. Was it a dirigible that crashed, which weren't in existence yet? But then, who piloted it? And who, if anyone, was buried at the cemetery?
Right. It's Ned, duh.
It's
Ned
Ned.
and his wingdings.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you desecrate Ned's grave.
Don't malign poor Ned.
No.
He died for his country or his planet.
Yeah. Those
One of the two.
posies
Mm-hmm.
burned for a reason.
Mm-hmm. He damned that well. This event came at a time when, quote, more than 500 airship sighting reports, end quote, of UFOs have been made in the Dallas and Fort Worth, Texas area.
I don't like that.
Yeah, from April 14th to April 27th of 1897. So we went from like a handful of reports to like over 500, depending on like who your source is, which is
That's
crazy.
incredibly unsettling, especially during that time.
Mm-hmm. Additionally, large numbers of sightings were reported around the Great Lakes and in California.
They're like, listen, we just built these canals. We need water. Can we take yours?
You have these lakes of significant size. One might say they're great.
They're great.
Can we take some of your water?
That's what he was really going for, the water tank, and he just, nicked it too hard and exploded.
Came in a little too fast, too furious, and
Yeah.
it happens.
Yep. Lit that cigar on fire, I tell you what.
Mm-hmm. The lore surrounding the crash had a resurrection in 1935 when Mr. Brawley Oates and his wife, Bonnie Etoy Oates, purchased Judge Proctor's land. To clean up the property, Brawley removed all the debris from the well, allowing him to use it as a water source.
Uh-oh. And it's so full of mercury.
Shortly after, he developed an extremely painful and severe case of arthritis, which he would go on to claim was due to the debris that contaminated the well water, which he had ingested.
Yeah. Why? Why would you do that?
I don't know. He also suffered from cysts and goiters.
Why? Why
Fun
would
times.
you ingest that?
I don't know, but fun times at the Oates house. Following this, Brawley had the well sealed up with a concrete slab in 1945, so 10 years later, and would construct an outbuilding atop where the well once stood. He was like, a piece published in the February 1971 edition of Southern Living titled Once Upon a Time in Aurora by Jerry Flemons shared in part the following. Quote, Aurora, Texas, on that 17th day of April in 1897, claimed 2 lawyers, 1 undertaker, 5 doctors, a picture gallery, 1 brass band for Sunday concerts, 2 cotton gins, a newspaper, 2 hotels, and 3,000 people. Apparently that was the entirety of Aurora at the time.
Mm. That's a big town. Like, I'm so sorry. People keep like sneezing at 3,000 people. That's a lot of people in one space
Mm-hmm.
in a rural area. Like,
And I don't think, because if you remember, it was 1,200 actual residents. So
yeah,
that's people from the surrounding towns.
coming
Yeah,
to check it out.
all those looky-loos.
Literally doubled the town.
At 6 a.m., the big silver-colored cigar appeared above the southern horizon. The cigar showed 2 gasoline engines along each side. Both turned propellers. Another prop, which, quote, bored through the air, end quote, was mounted on top for vertical lift. So kind of like a helicopter and an airplane all in one.
Hmm.
By various accounts, the curious airborne stogie was 200 to 300 feet long, or 60 to 91 meters, and 50 feet, or 15 meters wide. Windows, at least 7 of them, were across the bottom. A strong headlight flashed out of the nose. Depending on who reported seeing the cigar, it was piloted by one of several persons, some of whom wore blue sailor suits.
That is so adorable. The little space sailors. A cigar.
Yeah. The cigar must have weighed several tons, but observers could not identify its metal and only speculated that it was a mixture of aluminum and silver. S.E. Hayden, a local cotton buyer, surveyed the wreck and hurried off to inform big city newspapers. So he's the reporter.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph E. Truthful Scully, a Fort Worth man who conducted for the Texas and Pacific Railroad, whose reputation for truthfulness and honesty was unquestioned, told the reporter he had sighted the supposed airship in Wood County near Hawkins. Almost immediately, citizens reported sightings in Denison, Beaumont, Whitney, Forney, Mansfield, and Dallas. In Merkel, a family returning from church spied an anchor hooked to a corral fence. A stout rope led from the anchor to the cigar, hovering just above the ground.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, so it was anchored to a fence. Before their eyes, the cigar opened, and a small man in a blue sailor suit slid down the rope.
I can't.
Spying the family, the sailor cut the rope, re-entered the stogie, and the ship flew away. The anchor was displayed in Merkel for several weeks, end quote.
Oh my god. I love that. I love how he was about to descend, sees him, and goes, nope. Just
He was like,
cuts the rope and flies away.
I imagine him just like furiously like sawing at the rope and like staring at them and then like looking down at the rope and staring back up at them.
Struggling. Light the cigar, Jerry. We're not alone.
He's like pulling on the rope like, we gotta go, guys. We gotta go.
It just reminds me of like those training videos you'll see of like people in the military flying through the air, like under a helicopter or something, and then you just hear like the wee, just like the rescue of them like lifting up the poor
Mhm.
people with their gurneys and they're
Yeah.
spinning around.
Oh, God. Of course, anytime someone mentions an extraterrestrial, hoax theories abound.
Of course.
The running theory surrounding Aurora emerged from a 1980 interview that Etta Pews, I'm going to say Pews, of Aurora had with Time magazine. In it, the then 86-year-old Etta shared that the whole story was a fabrication that the reporter, S.E. Hayden, had written, quote, as a joke and to bring interest to Aurora. The railroad bypassed us and the town was dying, end quote.
Oh my.
Etta continued that Judge Proctor didn't even operate a windmill on his land.
It did kind of seem weird, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to say anything. Like, what is a judge doing with farmland kind of items?
Mm,
But maybe he was raised and owned a farm. Family
maybe.
farm.
The event itself has been investigated several times over the ensuing decades, with one broadcast by Fox 4 affiliate KDFW in 1998 and two others aired on cable TV. A film about the event, known as the Aurora Encounter, was shot in 1986 based on the legend of Ned and his crash. UFO TV shows have also done investigations, such as UFO Files on December 15th of 2005. The episode featured a 1973 investigation led by Bill Case, the Texas state director of MUFON, or the Mutual UFO Network, which is headquartered in Seguin, Texas. Seguin? One of those. Bill talked to Mary Evans, who had been 15 at the time of the incident, and she was 91 at the time of the interview, about how her parents went to the crash site where they confirmed the discovery of an alien body. In a report from July 18th, 1973, in her second interview, Mary told Bill that, quote, a body was recovered and a piece of the aircraft was stuck up as a marker, end quote, in the cemetery. Another former resident, Charlie Stevens, who was 10 back in 1897, shared how he had seen smoke trailing behind the craft as it headed to Aurora. He had asked his father if he could see what the craft was, but he wasn't allowed to as he needed to finish his chores. Because it's 6
He
in the
was a
morning.
small child. Yep.
His father did go into town the day after the crash and saw the wreckage of the aircraft. He later told his son that the craft had hit the windlass over the water well, which caused the chain reaction explosion. The resulting fire could be seen more than 3 miles away from the crash site.
Dang.
Bill and his team were able to use eyewitness accounts and metal detecting equipment to reconstruct the crash. According to him, quote, from all indications, there was definitely an explosion. The pattern established by metals recovered indicates the craft exploded on the lower right side first, blowing bits and pieces over a 2 or 3 acre area east and northeast of the well site on top of a rocky limestone hill. Immediately, the rest of the craft exploded, throwing other samples to the north and west, end quote. One interesting thing to note is that some of the metal, such as a sample that had been retrieved about 100 feet west of the well site under about 4 inches of soil, was lodged against the face of the limestone rock and had conformed to the shape of the rock itself. This indicates that the metal had been in almost a molten state when it entered the earth and hit the rock.
Ooh. Ooh. Gosh, how fast was it going then?
And how hot did it get?
Yeah. Before
From
it
the
even got to
explosion.
Yeah.
Fun fact,
Holy smokes.
the sample contained a high purity of aluminum and iron, but no copper, which is unusual because commercial aluminum alloys that contain iron almost always include some amount of copper.
Yeah. It had none. That freaks me out. I don't know why. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
As part of the investigation, Bill and the MUFON team went to the cemetery and the location of the grave marker, which showed a flying saucer. The metal detector they used picked up signs of metal, so the team asked for permission to exhume the site. The Cemetery Association denied the request.
Rude.
As noted in the Kira News article, quote, you cannot exhume a grave unless you notify the next of kin. And that's how the Cemetery Association got the court injunction in 1972 to keep them from exhuming the remains, end quote.
Rude.
Not only that, but one resident, Karen Tedrow, shared, quote, the residents had guns and everything because they didn't want them to do it. And I understand, because my parents are buried there, and I don't want them digging around. earthly body or not, they ought to let it rest in peace, end quote.
Interesting.
Shortly after the investigation, on June 14th, 1973, the marker was stolen from the cemetery, and a 3-inch pipe was placed in the ground and used to remove the metal pieces from the ground.
Oh, sneaky.
Cemetery officials went on to hire a lawyer to prevent any UFO researchers from exhuming the remains. Part of their reasoning had to do with the number of victims of the spotted fever epidemic that had also been buried in the area.
Yeah, like, please don't. Yeah, don't add another, like, contagion back into our neighborhood
Yeah. The last
that
thing they
wiped a
wanted
bunch of us out.
was to reintroduce an outbreak.
Yeah. We don't know what that's like.
No.
No. No.
MUFON's conclusion at the time was that there wasn't enough evidence to suggest that the event was a hoax, but there also wasn't enough to claim that it was real either.
Fair.
UFO Hunters aired a TV documentary on Aurora on November 19th, 2008. The episode included an interview with Tim Oates, the grandson of Brawley Oates, who had purchased the property from Judge Proctor.
Mm-hmm.
The remains of a windmill base were found near the site of the well, which debunks the statements that Ella made in her 1980 interview in Time magazine. They also found metal embedded in an old tree that had been damaged during the crash.
Oh.
The team also went into the cemetery and used ground-penetrating radar and photos from previous site visits around where the other graves from the 1890s were. They were able to find an unmarked grave in the area that was badly deteriorated, but they couldn't determine conclusively what type of remains were buried in the spot. In 2012, the second marker that had been put down to replace the original was also stolen, and a boulder was left in the spot to replace it. A few years later, in 2019, D Magazine published a piece that reminded people that a Dallas lawyer had offered a, quote, no questions asked, end quote, $5,000 reward for the return of Ned's tombstone that had been stolen previously, but to this day it has not been returned.
It's so mean. That's just so awful.
Today, the Texas historical marker located outside the cemetery gates reads as follows, quote, Aurora Cemetery. The oldest known graves here, dating from as early as the 1860s, are those of the Randall and Rowlett families. Finis Dudley Beauchamp, 1825 to 1893, a Confederate veteran from Mississippi, donated the 3-acre site to the newly formed Aurora Lodge No. 479 AF and AM in 1877. For many years, this community burial ground was known as Masonic Cemetery. Beauchamp, his wife Caroline, 1829 to 1915, and others in their family are buried here. An epidemic which struck the village in 1891 added hundreds of graves to the plot. Called spotted fever by the settlers, the disease is now thought to have been a form of meningitis.
Oh, awful way to die.
Located in Aurora Cemetery is the gravestone of the infant Nellie Burris, 1891 to 1893, with its often quoted epitaph, As I was so soon done, I don't know why I was begun. This site is also well known because of the legend that a spaceship crashed nearby in 1897, and the pilot, killed in the crash, was buried here. Struck by epidemic and crop failure and bypassed by the railroad, the original town of Aurora almost disappeared, but the cemetery remains in use with over 1,200 graves. Veterans of the Civil War, World Wars I and II, Korean and Vietnam conflicts, Gulf War I and II are interred here, end quote. Ned's headstone was replaced sometime in 2012 or 2013 by a large rock and a wooden cross, and was regularly visited by locals and visitors alike, who would leave flowers and trinkets. In May 2024, a local Aurora committee decided that, quote, tourism doesn't have a place on holy ground, end quote. And it voted to remove the stone marker and all of the mementos left on or near it from the cemetery.
I don't know how to feel about that. Like, I get it. I do. But at the same time, if you think about the people who you would assume would be buried around that site, like close to it,
Mm-hmm.
how many people are visiting those people that were buried in like the 1800s, 1900s versus like early 1900s versus like if it's I'm assuming the cemetery is still getting used, and that was probably part of the issue where people were like, I don't like having a bunch of strangers near my loved ones'
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
remains, which I get.
Mm-hmm.
I do. But God, that's tough. That's tough.
All that remains to mark the previous location of the quote-unquote headstone is a patch of dirt under the tree where it was previously placed.
Mm.
The Aurora Cemetery, which was established in 1861, can be found at 507 Cemetery Road. According to Find a Grave, Ned is located in Plot B1 at the entrance of the third gate, the far south of the cemetery, immediately to the left. So if you want, you can still try to find him, but there is no marker of any kind to denote exactly where he is. And to your point, that was one of the major decisions on why they removed the marker, was because hundreds of people are coming every day to Aurora because of the alien legend. And some people have embraced it and they're like, this is awesome. It's giving us tourism and we can
money.
Use this to improve the town. Other people are like, we hate this because it's the only thing people care about when they come to see us.
Well, and it'd be very easy for people who are so obsessed about wanting to see an alien, forgetting that that's still a cemetery where there are people living there, or people interred there forever that need to be respected.
Yes. And that was becoming an issue, is that people were not being respectful of the other graves in the cemetery. Stuff was getting stepped on, stuff was getting messed on. And so that was part of the decision for why they were like, we just can't do this anymore. Like this, it just can't be here anymore. So there are still areas in town where they will note Ned. So there are, and there's this,
I'm sure there's plenty of other little things.
There's this like location by their city sign that has like a recreation of the spaceship and like a chair, like, you know how like the highway 8, like the Adirondack chairs you can sit in to take photos, something like that with the alien cut out in front of it.
That makes sense.
So there are photo opportunities within Aurora, just outside of the cemetery. And I think that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do that. But yeah, that is the story of Ned and his alien gravesite and the spaceship crash of 1897.
I love that. Be respectful when you go see Ned, okay, guys? Don't be dicks.
Yeah. Anytime you are visiting someone's grave, it doesn't matter where in the world you're going, or a memorial, be respectful of the space you are occupying, what is around the space that the memorial is located in. Just don't be a dick. Like, it's a memorial for a reason and people care about it, and don't overstep that for clout or whatever. Think about it as a sacred space. The space means something to people, so it should be respected.
Just think if it were for you, you know?
Yeah, would you want somebody stomping all over stuff that people are leaving in honor of you? Would you want people taking things from a place that is honoring you? Like, just keep that in the back of your head when you do stuff like that.
Think of Ned, you know?
Think of poor Ned, who was just doing his job, and then he
burned
got
alive
blown
in
up.
his little sailor suit.
I bet it is the cutest little
no
sailor
anchor
suit
to
too.
drop. We would have never known.
No.
But he had a little hat, all starched up, ready for that water. R.I.P. Ned.
R.I.P. Ned. R.I.P. If you love the show, the best way to support us is to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Good Pods, CastBox, Podcast Addict, and or Audible. Links to all of these are in our show notes, or if you're already listening on one of these platforms, you know what to do.
Oh, and while you're at it, shoot us a question you'd like to hear us answer on the pod. We'll give you a special shout out and address your burning questions all at the same time. The weirder, the better. Submit them via link in our show notes or shoot them to us in our DMs.
All right, we have a listener question from Carrie Ann.
All right.
You have won your dream holiday for just you and a +1.
Okay.
You can go wherever you want in the world. Who do you take? Where do you go? And what things would you do there?
Oh, man. Well, obviously, I would take my husband because we have not had, we rarely get to really go anywhere. Just not kind of our lives. I'm waffling between Japan or South Korea.
Okay.
Because actually, no, I think I would go to Japan because he is now medically retired. I think I would go there and just, I don't know. I love people watching. And I love kind of like just in general quiet observation of cultures. I don't know if I would necessarily do like a bunch of touristy like things in terms of tours, but I know I wouldn't really be welcome into a bathhouse because I have tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't try to like push my luck in doing stuff like that, but just like, I don't know, I would wander. I'd wander and kind of experience some of the touristy things. Like I would love to go to, don't they have like the Miyazaki world kind of thing? Like that could be kind of cool. And doing like Lego Japan would be kind of cool. Like doing some sort of touristy things, but maybe not just like ass kitschy. I really like just the window shopping and people watching and just kind of taking it in that way. So yeah, I think that's what I would do. How about you?
I would also like to go to Japan. I would go with my husband. I would like to try and do some sort of journey where we would go from the north all the way down to the south and use like a mix of like, you know, the bullet train, and maybe we take a bus, and maybe I don't know how else you would get around, but rent a car, take a boat, and just kind of visit different areas throughout the country. I don't want to say it would just be like a tour of different places featured in anime, but
Probably be influenced.
it would be nice to visit, you know, your more iconic locations. It would be fun to visit a variety of different temples. It'd be cool to go to some festivals if there are festivals going on at the time, sampling all the different kinds of food. Trying to think of what else we'd want to do. I just think it would be fun to experience the culture, but the culture in different regions of the country, because you know it's not the same
it's just
throughout the
like
entire
us.
country.
Yeah,
It's the same as the U.S. Like there are different
like
customs and
the
ways of
culture
doing
in
things,
Northeast is not the same as it is in like California or in
or
Texas.
Florida,
Hmm.
like, or South Carolina.
Well, yeah, and even the South is different.
Yeah, like you could be on the same side of the country, but depending on where
Yeah,
you are at, like life and
world's
what you
different.
do is completely different.
Hmm.
So that would
It's
also
got
be
to be the
fun
same.
to like experience the cultural differences throughout the country. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you, and there's a couple of ways you can reach out to us. You can email us at yeoldecrimepodcast@gmail.com, where you can send us story ideas, share any spooky stories you may have, fun gifts, or even just to say hello.
You can also reach out to us via snail mail. Remember mail? Our mailing address is Ye Olde Crime Podcast, P.O. Box 341, Wyoming, Minnesota 55092. Fun fact, we like to send out thank you cards with fun stickers you can't get at our shop, so it's worth the cost of a stamp.
All right, what's something good you'd like to share?
I'm going to be able to make a sauce with my tomatoes, I think, soon.
Ooh.
They're ready. We had a bunny that took one of my big boys, and I was real upset. And then also like knocked down the cherry tomato one, so like a bunch of cherry tomatoes, like green ones, were all over the place. We're like, dicks.
You're like, son of a bitch.
So rude. But we've got a raspberry plant. I won't say it's a bush because it kind of looks like a vine almost.
Mm-hmm.
The way it curves. It's got so many raspberries coming in.
Ooh.
Like, it's
You like
crazy.
raspberries.
I was not prepared for it to fruit this year. And so I'm like stressed. And I really hope that he's happy and he's doing okay. Because, oh my God, we're going to have raspberries maybe. So that's exciting. But we are a strawberry, tomato, pepper, raspberry household. Good starter ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know? How about you? What's something good?
I got to do my birthday outing today. We went to Crystal Cave in Wisconsin, and it is, I want to say he said it was like the largest natural cave system in all of Wisconsin, just because there's a whole section, like a mile's worth of cave system that people don't go into, and it is accessible from outside, but that's essentially the entrance and exit for the bats that will live in the caves when they're hibernating.
Yeah.
And it's too early in the season for the bats to be in there, so there were no bats when we were there.
That's good. Thank God for that.
I would have been okay with it. I like bats. You go on an hour-long tour, and the lowest point of the caves is this little divot that is 70 feet below ground.
Whoa.
So it's not nearly as deep as you would think. There's a variety of different kind of rooms you get to travel into, for lack of a better word. And they'll go over like...
I'm looking at it as you're talking.
Yeah, and they go over information about how the rocks are formed in there, the history of like the crystals and the geodes that are grown there, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that weird to think about?
Yeah, and how they're all formed. Our guide did a cool presentation about the history of the different like cephalopods who would have been in the area during that time, and he talked about trilobites.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't realize that trilobites are really like only, like 1 or 2 inches big. I thought they were really, really big. I guess the ones in Wisconsin were like an inch or so. Like they weren't very big. But he did have a fossil of one from, I think he said like Brazil or something, that was like 3 inches big that we were allowed to touch. But otherwise, when you were in the cave, the only thing you could touch was anything that was man-made. So like the railings.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Stuff like that. Because they don't want you damaging anything.
Yeah, they don't want you damaging anything, but oh my gosh, like having so many people touch something that could be like wet and no, just like again, just don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
I posed the question. I was like, so would horseshoe crabs be the distant relative of a trilobite? Like, or would it be bugs? And he said, actually, they would be more closely related to horseshoe crabs than they would be to like beetles or anything. So I was like, cool, I was right. Because they look kind of like horseshoe crabs if they had like a carapace. Yeah. It was interesting. And the girls enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Yeah. If you are ever in Wisconsin and have the opportunity to go to the Crystal Cave, I highly recommend it. It's a fun experience.
Nice.
I bought a sweatshirt.
Nice.
All right. Shall we?
We shall.
Want to be social with us? You can see pics from this week's episode, bonus content, and funny memes on X at Ye Olde Crime Pod, or on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube at Ye Olde Crime Podcast.
Speaking of YouTube, we have a special playlist just for our Can You Crack the Cramp Word segments with our guest podcasters to see who can correctly guess the meaning of some obscure Victorian slang terms. If that's your thing, check it out.
And on that note, as always, I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Madison.
And we'll see you next time with another tale
as old as crime.
Ever turned your almond milk around and couldn't even read the ingredients? At Malk, we believe less is more delicious. Just almonds, water, and a pinch of salt. That's it. No gums, no oils, nothing you can't pronounce. It's clean, creamy, and made for your coffee, cereal, and smoothies without the added junk. Always organic, simple, and most importantly, delicious. Find Malk at your nearest store. Taste the difference today.